Brace the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started today at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
What if you could take your leadership to the next level, starting today? Whether you're looking for the next big idea or just a spark of inspiration, the Paper Napkin Wisdom newsletter is for you. Either way, you'll want to visit papernapkinwisdom.com and sign up now.
Welcome to Paper Napkin Wisdom, where we share pearls of wisdom shared by some of the world's top entrepreneurs, leaders, and difference makers. Here's your host, Govind Jayaraman.
Hi, I'm Govind Jayaraman, and this is Paper Napkin Wisdom, episode 234. What if the very decision you've been dreading is the one that could unlock your next level of life or business? In this episode, you're going to meet someone who didn't just face that kind of choice, he built a whole new identity on the other side of it. Bryce North is an award-winning entrepreneur, a venture capitalist, and the force behind Don't Be a Little Pitch, a platform that's flipping the script on startup pitching and storytelling. But what you might not expect is the deeply personal transformation that shaped the way he shows up as a leader today. You're going to hear a story that blends humor, heartbreak, reinvention, and resilience, and somewhere in the middle of it, you just might hear your own story echo back. Listen closely, because there's something powerful about the moment we choose meaning over comfort, and what Bryce shares in this episode has the potential to shift your perspective, if you let it. Now, imagine the one hard decision you've been avoiding and keep it in mind as we dive in. Let's go. Bryce North, welcome to Paper Napkin Wisdom. I'm excited to have you here today.
I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much for your time. Excited to get going on this.
Yeah. So you shared a really interesting paper napkin with me, and I'm excited to dive in. It says, the hardest decisions often lead to the most meaningful outcomes. Underlined. Why did you share that with me?
I think your rock bottom moments in your life are the truly defining pivotal points on your success. I mean, these are all learning experiences. And I believe that as an entrepreneur, you need to either be moving forward and succeeding or moving backwards and failing. Those are just learning moments. But if you're stagnant and not moving and all you're spinning your wheels, that causes noise, confusion, and all of that. So when we do take a big leap backwards, these are moments for us to reflect on. And I think a lot of people kind of use them as, kind of scary moments, but for us, they're springboard moments. I think we need to remember that.
I like how you said a big leap backwards. Some people call it a fall, some people call it, but you're calling a leap. Like it's almost like it's an intentional step that you're recognizing it just didn't work in the right direction. Am I missing that, or is that what you're trying to say?
No, I am saying that. I think when we kind of swing big sometimes, we always forget that there's going to be some clawbacks and there's going to be that leap from that risk. These just open doors. And I think a lot of people just need to understand that your job is looking for opportunity. Opportunity is finding new doors to open, whether that is, forward motion or backward motion. But it's everything leads to connections and people and experiences that kind of guide us where we need to be going, or at least help us understand what decision to make next.
So have you always, did it come naturally for you to think about opportunities, whether they work or not, as being positive? Like, is just being opportunities, just a chance, just another chance to swing the bat? Or was that something that you learned along the way?
I mean, I'm going to use this just like playing the guitar, you get calloused, right? I mean, over time, the more crap you kind of go through, the less or scarier the next crap is. It just, when you're $1 in debt, that, you get used to that. When you're $100,000, $1 million in debt, or losing, money from investors, the next time around, it's not so scary. So no, it's just getting used to the turmoil and like the sporadicness of your everyday during this growth, and learn how to handle emotions and everything around that as well.
So what do you do to handle emotions? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I find it really. I am an anxious person. I find that really, really interesting, and an impatient person. So, how do I handle my emotions? I'm not a meditator. I'm not a person who needs to take a step back. I need to plow through it and figure it out, figure what went wrong. My ease is understanding of what went wrong, and my ease is being okay with the fact that maybe I did everything right, but made a wrong bet. But at least my calculations were executed on. And so it's just discovery, fact finding, and having a little bit of obsession in places that do matter to understand exactly where you need to go next.
But as an anxious person, can't you get like over obsessed with things that don't matter? Like gets cloudy, doesn't it? Like some people kind of get paranoid and they get nervous about everything, but that's not a path forward either.
No, it's not, and it's true. So yeah, you do have a lot of noise, right? So I think at that point you got to be really good at figuring out how do you eliminate some of that noise and confusion. And I mean, whether you want to become a little more organized, do a lot of day planning, future projection, whatever that is, yeah, you're going to have that cloudiness along the way. The anxiousness does bring that along, but at the same time, I think if you can really, really start to pinpoint where this is coming from, what are these anxious moments, and more importantly, who you can lean on, what other people have done, kind of as role models, that really helps. And that gets me to also seeing that you should find some mentors, some people that can guide you along the way. But there's a lot of studies out there how anxious slash obsessive people are the most excessive. And that just comes to the fact of that relentless, I'm not going to stop until I figure this out. I understand at least why this failed.
Yeah, and I totally agree that like that relentlessness of staying with it is really important, but also not getting stuck in the pattern of, some people get stuck in that sort of it's snowing heavily today, so I can say get stuck back and forth in the same groove, and that groove gets deeper and deeper and deeper. You're not saying that. You're saying, understand the landscape, understand what's going on, and use mentors or other people to help you guide you along the way, right?
Yeah, but I mean, understanding how to break that groove. This is the typical flywheel life cycle of any entrepreneur. Things are great. We're starting out, whether it's a new product or it's a new service, or at least it's a new initiative in our business. We get excited about that. So then we go and we start learning and reading and taking courses and understanding. Those courses give us this power, this feeling of, hey, I'm actually progressing and going through. We executed that and start building. That gives us more ambition and more like fuel to the fire in order of doing something and feel like we're actually moving forward. That's building MVPs. And like getting out of that circle is probably talking to your customers, which is like, I don't want to digress just yet, but a lot of people don't do that. So let's come back and say, now we're building MVPs and we're testing. Now that's failing. And now that's scary. And we're stuck in this pattern. So what do? We go back to the drawing board, try to come up with new courses, new things to learn in order to try to bring this back. That's that vicious circle. That is a continuous, where you're talking about pitfall of anxiety, spinning your wheels, doing that all over again. Now, how do you get out of that? There's key points, I think, along the way, which you can follow as guidelines. And it comes from a lot from experience. Hey, I'm not going to go through this repetition pattern again of using my ego, using false hope, or using these tactics of learning to make me feel like I'm progressing, when I should be doing the number one thing out there is actually talking to my customers, selling, and getting market feedback. I think a lot of us skip that.
Yeah, I really like that you emphasize talking to your customers. So let's go back. You get excited about an opportunity, you get excited about an idea or something. I like how you went to the action of learning, right? Learn more about it. Become even like a pinpoint expert, an expert on a little bit of it, right? Is that what you're saying? Like really understand it.
Yes, but it's also the problem because a lot of us just want to consume more courses and more learning because they think that's the way to actually progress and go forward. I don't think more courses and I don't think learning more is the solution. I think that comes a lot more to, like you said, talking to your customers or actually execution.
Yeah. So then you move to start building, right? That was what you said next. Start building, get an MVP, and talk to your customers about it.
You should. Many don't. A lot of them just build and hope that they will come.
Right. So yeah, I think this field of dreams is just it doesn't make a lot of sense. So talking to customers, engaging customers and getting meaningful feedback is really important. Tell me about how you do that. What does that look like to you?
Let me use an example with a company I had called TrapTap, which was an amazing failure. But I had this idea, and just like a paper napkin, literally, I drew it on there. And then I went and pre-sold about $1 million worth of the product before I even had the invention, before I have any drawings or schematics. It was an IoT device. Ended up, bringing me on Dragon's Den, Canada's version of Shark Tank, and scaling to 20 different countries, which was amazing. But I pre-sold this with just on an idea and hope and a good story. And I think that scares a lot of people, which everyone says, I have this idea. I'm like, well, okay, the first thing you want to be doing is not creating it. It's not building it, it's selling it. Go out and actually sell it. There's many ways you can do that. But ideally, that's the hardest job that anyone ever has to go through, is talking to your customers, getting feedback, real feedback, and actually trying to sell it.
Yeah. So, and I think this is the new thing, this IoT model, the idea that you can have an idea, sell it, and use that crowdfunding to actually build it is backwards to a lot of people. A lot of people don't understand that you can do that. Let's talk about that process. So you had an idea, you built it on a napkin, you put it out into the world, you got people to buy it. That sounds successful. It sounds like it really worked, but you said it was a failure. Why was it a failure?
Oh my God, that is a great question, and it goes into a lot of that race of trying to chasing money, the wrong team members of having things involved, a little bit of inexperience, and more of a fearfulness in myself to move forward. That imposter syndrome that kind of came through. There are moments in every entrepreneur's life where we think that we're actually in momentum when we're not. And we're trailblazing, and that's when we get a little too risky. We're not calculating. Maybe we spend it too much, and we have that feeling that this will 100% or more be success when it's not. That there are those moments in everyone's career path when they're actually building something, and this is just ego. Learn to calm that ego, and understanding the risks behind that. So that came into play for us, where in about 9 months we had this paper napkin drawing, and we actually prototyped, raised $1 million in pre-sales, built it, and shipped it to 20 countries in 9 months. In 9 months, electronic device in it. It's insane. I had an incredible team around that. But too many cooks in the kitchen led to a lot of different ideas of success who's involved, the heavy cap table, some bad investments. And here we are in a hardware world where hardware is hard to sell, and getting deals with people like Best Buy, which have long payment terms. There needs a lot of capital behind this. And I think our story really blew us out of the water in a really good way. That got us a lot of attention, a lot of people interested, but that support and that demand didn't really give us a stable environment to really scale properly.
Yeah. So a lot of people don't, when you go from a pre-sale environment to a post-sale environment, the capital structure really flips on you really quickly. Like inventory and inventory management is a whole part of the business that people have to learn. And it sounds like that was something that you learned in the middle of it, which would have been very challenging, right?
Yeah, my biggest realization was understanding who your true fans are and evangelists are, and why you should be actually maximizing your evangelists. These are people that really don't care if you screw up in any type of way. The product can go on fire. They just love to be part of the story. The first movers that can go scream on the top of the rooftops for you. And so we try to tailor to everyone and sell to everyone. When we had our true fans who were helping us build this and shared along the way, we should have maximized that, put a halt on sales, perfected where you need to go, and then use that momentum in order to raise a fair valuation to go forward.
Yeah, it's so cool. One of the things that I think that a lot of people do, and I hear this a lot lately, and I think it's the time. It's the time where a lot of people are. I think it's a tough time. So people are looking at changing their business or modifying their business or adding things or subtracting things, but they go back and they look at these learning experiences. You talked about this big leap backwards, right? They go to the leaps backwards, and they kind of hate on that. They're embarrassed about it. I really admire how you're talking about it so openly, and you're talking about, my ego got in the way, our ego got in the way, we got off focus. So learning from those opportunities, and almost like loving those opportunities, gives you power, because that version survived. The version of you that was there survived that challenge and brought you to where you are now. So you can bring all those skills to this moment if you honor that. But if you fake, lie, and hide from it, and you don't talk about the failure, and if you don't learn from it, it's not part of who you are, right?
No, that's right. There's one thing that I actually use in our PR agency today. We run by two laws, and number one is the most powerful, is that people are attracted to other people's rough edges. And what that is that vulnerability and transparency is just the most important things in terms of connecting with people. We see our superstars, we see our heroes out there. We're never going to be like them. And that creates this pedestal moment, this discrepancy, and this gap of knowledge and intelligence, which is not really true. Once we hear these people, and once they humanize themselves, but once we hear their rock bottom moments, their stories, their underdog story, how they progress, we can relate with that. These are relatable moments. These are moments in time where we can say to ourselves, like, holy shit, I was there. They are just like me. They're not as different as I thought. They and I are. So I think that's the most important part, is be able to actually understand how can you connect with people on a level that makes them not just appreciate and respect you, but at the same time want to help you along with your journey.
Okay. What was the second part? You said you have two rules.
Oh
People
yeah, people always buy better versions of themselves.
people always buy. Okay, so why are those rules for what you do now? Why are they so important?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, from my learning of actually running like a SaaS company to an IoT to now going into an agency. Was one thing I was really good at is just being edgy and telling good stories. I'm from a small city in Canada, which a lot of people haven't heard of. No deal flow, another catalyst to why we probably failed, but also at the same time, realized that I got pretty good at getting my name out there, where I did like speaking and touring stints and raising money in the valley and all of that. And so this kind of taught me the actual importance of humanizing yourself, and building connection with people along the way. And we do that in and out, because it doesn't matter where your company is in that stage line, whether it's a new idea where you're actually raising your seed A or B or series A and B, you are trying different initiatives, reaching different moments of pivotalness within your company, and understanding we're taking a different direction. That moment from 0 to 10,000 is super hard, but from 10,000 to 50 is even harder. And then 50 to half a million is a different beast itself. Growing from there, in my mind, are just different tranches and different ways of actually needing to tell your story. In the very beginning, we need to connect with people. We are our brands, which is in itself a problem, but we need to be doing is showing that trust. People are not going to trust our companies unless they trust the people behind there. We build, we show that culture, we push that through as we progress, and then solely separate personal from corporate brands. We're making these people their identities, the gurus, the leaders in the world, those that people should follow and listen to. And while their companies and solutions, their products, the boards they're sitting on are all products that are offering solutions to these problems. This is where we need to clearly separate and understand who has a story, what significance it has in the person's, in the customer's journey in their life, and how your culture really supports that.
I find it really interesting that you really leveraged your story, right? Like your journey is now how you're helping other entrepreneurs and other businesses elevate their own brands. And I really like this idea that people are attracted to each other's rough edges, and you're putting yours out there. Sometimes entrepreneurs hide from the things that didn't work. You're actually using what didn't work as a catalyst for what you're doing now by sharing it openly. Did is there ever a time when when you feel doubt around that? Because you say you're an anxious person. Does that ever come back? How do you quell that?
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be doubts on new endeavors, things, and on charter territory I haven't been before. And it's just kind of taking back, like, and trying to call myself. And I thankfully have a really great team right now. They're pretty level headed and a lot smarter than I am, which is fantastic. And we can kind of balance things off and talk about these uncertainties. But I've had moments, my rock bottom moments, where I can always say to myself, things will never get as bad as that. Where I've lost everything from friends and relationships to money and companies and everything within 3 hours, literally, and it was incredible. So I remember that moment and how horrible that was, and that feeling I got in my gut. And I don't think things will get that bad because I'm more calculated now, and a lot smarter with that. But I use that as my springboard and kind of really propelling myself forward. Is like things are going to actually be okay. Things won't be like that again. If they are, you know how to get out of them. You did it before. Why can't you do it again?
Yeah, I really like that, and it sounds like you also share it quickly. Like you speak that truth quickly, and by speaking that truth quickly, you get it out there. You get those rough edges out there. You make sure that people are aware of them, and then people can also cover you. Right? Your good team, your great team can't cover your blind spot if you don't say, "Hey, I got a blind spot. I might need you to help me here."
It's one of our values, honestly, and everyone's pretty open. But my biggest first customer was for me. reluctantly wanting to talk about my previous past and how my company failed, but I got invited to a speaking opportunity to do it. It was hard. I talked about it, and everyone said that was incredible. And I realized these polarizing moments are what attract people. And polarization, which is why our business is called Don't Be a Little Pitch with a P, attracts the right people in the right audience, but also makes people really respect you. They're like, don't get me wrong. If people are going to love you, people are going to hate you. We have a lot of people that don't like us, but we have a lot of people who actually love us, which matters the most because now we capitalize on that. Same thing when you're expressing yourself with your team. There's going to be moments where you're kind of feel uncertain, but go with the good stuff. Go with the stuff that's going to move you forward.
All right. So how do you focus yourself on the good stuff in the sea? Because for every one person that loves you, there's probably more than one that doesn't. How do you drown out that and focus on the good?
By celebrating the small wins. And everyone talks about it, but no one actually does it. So emotions are in motion, right? So that's why we remember things that have really big emotional moments, breakups, huge successes, huge wins, things from our childhood which cause trauma. Like these are moments in time that cause motion with an emotion. So I say that one thing we're really bad at as humans is pushing that goalpost, which I think should be done. But I think we should take those moments to recognize where we want and make a big stink about it. Winning, getting a customer, beating some revenue goals, company being around for X number of years, whether you hit your 6 month or 12 month, whatever that is. Take time out of your day to actually build a highlight board and some sort of award reel for yourself and talk about these little wins because that's going to pile up, rewire the brain, and work with you in such a positive momentum that you're going to remember all the good things that when the bad stuff does come, they're going to be overweight. It's kind of like having so much good press out there that when something bad happens to you, people won't believe the negative.
So I like this idea of an award reel for yourself, right? It's almost like that promo reel for yourself, but you've got to have that in your mind that you can turn on anytime. What does that look like? How do you build that for yourself? Tell me about celebrating. Like I love the celebrating small wins. We're going to come back to that, but this award reel for yourself, what's on your award reel? How did you build it?
Yeah, I think it's just documenting moments within time. So we record every company call, every highlight, every excited conversation. I'm recording every sales call. I handle them all. Excited clients, good testimonials, things we see online. These are things we like should be highlighted. That's part of our people person in our company to do that. But at the same time, it's like that montage of information we put together for each other and something we should be celebrating on company anniversaries, which we do, and highlighting, well, this went wrong, but remember this, and this is what came out of this. And I think it's just having the visible, make it present, and then just make it kind of exciting and make it a big deal. Like just make it a big deal.
One of the things I learned really early, and I remember Linda Lundstrom, she fashion designer in Canada, many, many years ago. She was at a keynote, and she talked about planning the celebration before starting work. So you'd start working on a project, but she'd always plan the celebration first. And she would vision the celebration with her team. And in this particular moment, in this particular instance, she was saying, this is how it looked. This morning, before I came here to give this speech, I planned the celebration that I would give myself after I saw a thunderous standing ovation at the end of this presentation. And, the way that she built the story just made it so interesting that she got one right that second. And then she got another one at the end. And it was incredible to see it all come together in that way. That's what you're talking about, right? Like plan a celebration, celebrate the moment, make a big deal about it. Like own that celebration, right?
Yeah, whether it's before and you're manifesting this, what sounds like in this case, or even after when there's a win. But a lot of times it's like that doesn't have to be that grand. A lot of people may think that what are small wins, right? Well, for me the other day, I wrote a really killer email campaign, a cold email campaign, and I got incredible open rates and response rates. And my email campaigns are offer no value at all. I believe like the secret to actually sales is humor and charm. And so I just say ridiculous things and Photoshop some bad photos. And, that's a big win for me, like getting a really big response rate to understanding, okay, this is a moment where humor really just outshines and wins. And this is a really big moment in learning for us. So we celebrated that and we learned from that. And this has kind of led to like more moments of like little things that we're experimenting with. My team knows they can break stuff. Like one of our values is go break stuff and literally and have no fear in executing and trying new things. And that's how we kind of innovate and can grow.
I love that. So in that idea of celebrating wins and celebrating things, let's this season of Paper Napkin Wisdom, we've been ending every episode with what you appreciates, putting some appreciation out in the world, because we know when we appreciate people, they grow in value. So who would you like to appreciate? Who are you going to shout out today?
I got to shout out Michael Franco. And Michael Franco is an individual I met actually within Mexico traveling, and he's been handling our people and cultural operations. And I give him a big shout out because culture is one of the hardest things to build in any company. And my team is 10 people, but even at the point of like 5 and 8, I realize how hard it is a lot of times to like rein people in, motivate them, and keep them so inspired that they're hungry. And this guy is just like a masterpiece of what I want to say is like proper and healthy manipulation in a really good way, right? Like making people just love what they do and kind of pushing them through. So he owns Quokka Hub, and it's been like, our in-seat culture people person, HR for absolutely everything. And I am so excited how energetic my team is since he came in. So he deserves a really big outreach here.
That's awesome. Nice shout out and awesome to meet you. Thanks for joining me today.
Hey, thanks for having me on. It was awesome. Really appreciate it.
Wow. What a conversation. What an episode. Bryce North didn't just drop knowledge today. He invited us into the space where real transformation happens. And if you were really listening, you might already be asking yourself, what's the hard decision I've been avoiding? Because as Bryce reminded us, the hardest decisions often lead to the most meaningful outcomes. Courage isn't loud, it's honest. And sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is walk away from something that no longer serves us. You are not your company. And when you disconnect your identity from your business, you reclaim your power. Laughter heals. Humor isn't a distraction, it's a doorway into truth. Your story sells, not your slides. Investors invest in you. Customers invest in you, not just your pitch deck. Reinvention requires real talk. You can't fake your way to freedom, but you can get there by being real with yourself. Here's what I'd encourage you to do now. Take a moment. Write down your own wisdom on a napkin. Maybe it's the decision you've been postponing or the truth you've been quietly carrying. Then share it with the world using the hashtag Paper Napkin Wisdom, because that small moment of clarity might be the spark someone else is waiting for. If this episode moved me, do me a favor. Subscribe wherever you're listening. Leave a review. It helps us reach more difference makers just like you. And most importantly, share this episode with someone who's standing on the edge of a big decision. You already know this, but I'll say it anyway. The wisdom you might already need is in your hands. You just have to look down and write it out. Until next time, remember, small enough to fit on a napkin, big enough to change your world. Make it a great day.